Hey guys, welcome to One Wayfinder. I am doing this podcast in order to overcome fears and self limiting beliefs. I'm finding lots of healing going on through it and hopefully moving more to my authentic self as I have been on my journey. I'm just one Wayfinder, and you can be one Wayfinder too. Today, I really want to get back to it's a follow up to the podcast 3.0 that I did, which was 20 married 20 years to a narcissist, which I just call NARC for short. And there were a few things that I had not included in that particular podcast that I really wanted to make sure that I addressed. And I realized that it didn't occur to me at that time when I was doing the first one, in part because I don't think all of the time about the damage or the challenging components to that situation anymore. It's been filed. I've been healing, and I'm not replaying it all in my head, right? Which is really healthy. It's actually healthy to get to a point where you're not replaying all of these things that made you feel really bad. But then I thought, okay, these are a few more items that I really want to make sure that I put out there because just in the event that anybody here is or anyone ends up watching my videos, if you feel inspired to watch them, one, and two, maybe get on your own journey, you may be interested in hearing a little bit more about my NARC so you can identify if you're dealing with a NARC. And, you know, just that's probably the first step, right? Just identifying what you're dealing with. So, one item that I left out was that my narc was an incessant liar. He would lie. It just flowed out of his mouth like this flowing river, but it was more like a waterfall after a waterfall after a waterfall. Eventually, when you realize this, you really stop and think to yourself, that lie isn't even necessary. It's not necessary. It's not like you're there's something I'm not saying any lies are necessary, but these are sort of like that level of pathological liar where you'll lie about what you ate for breakfast just because you maybe you'll say you had like apples and bananas instead of a Danish because the company that you're keeping eats apples and bananas. So you lie about what you had for breakfast to appeal to that particular bit of company that you're hanging out with at the moment. Just the strangest thing, and sadly, what I felt happened with me was that I would be in the presence of storytelling time, and would figure out that I am dealing with someone who is constantly lying, and now I am party to that. And if I go against it or I correct it, there's hell to pay for that. So then going along with it actually made me feel like I was a fabricator too, that I was being a liar, which in a way I was, but I was between a rock and a hard place because I would just was, right? It was crazy. So now I'm in situations where I'm going along with someone who's flat out lying just so I can keep the peace in my own house and in my own life. Another piece to mine arc was just a really I say fantastic, sarcastically, a fantastic fill in the blanker. He had such a fantastic memory. And at first, I was like, wow, I have this really bad memory ability. He remembers so many more details than I do. And eventually, I came to figure out that there were as listen and you're like, no, I remember that differently. You go, wait a second, you're filling in the blanks that make this story more appealing or better for you for whatever uh, light you want to cast yourself in, whatever way you want to portray yourself, right? These people are generally like grandiose. They want to have attention and they want to be the center of attention. So they're willing to be a fill in the blank liar so that they can paint this picture of this story so it's funnier or whatever it is. The sad part about the fill in the blanker, I feel like that I've noticed is the rewriting of history. And that is particularly damaging when it comes to children. When when children have a specific memory or memories growing up of and the way that they felt associated with whatever was going on, and they are then told later, when they're maybe talking through these things, are told later, well, that didn't really happen that way, or that was never my intention, or that was never. And so and then there's like this fill in the blank thing that goes on. So then the child really questions what they remember from their childhood and what they're trying to work through and talk through. And it's actually, it causes wounding. That's a wound that that child is going to have to deal with, because while they would have the opportunity to talk through it, and if they were sitting at the table with someone who would also tell the truth or sit with um, themselves and tell the truth, that child would be able to begin to heal from that wound. However, the fill in the blanker creates this challenge for people who are growing and developing, when they eventually want to discuss those things. They're essentially being completely gaslit about something that's ever happened in their lives when they were coming up. And this is something that I don't, that's a very difficult piece to me, because I'm seeing that play out, and it's hard to determine how to manage that in your own life. Um, because it's just a challenge, as I'm sure you can imagine. If in case you heard the dogs in the background, I apologize about that. That's just Captain Butt Sniffer and Dumpster Dog. That's their nicknames. And apparently they're hot on the trail of some door that just shut, or some cabinet that just closed. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's about lying. It's pretty very sinister. It is incessant and it is never ending, and it not only impacts you, but it impacts everyone around this person, and really impacts the children that they're around. Triangulation is another piece of what they do, and lying plays a big part in that. And triangulation is sort of with you, let's say, at the center, and anyone you engage with. I always do that, put my hands in front of my face. See Italian in me, maybe? Like, and I love my Italians. So, um, but maybe, so I'll try not to like do that in front of my face. Okay. So these people will actually, because usually they're very charismatic, or they're funny, there's some appealing qualities to their personality, and this is the way that they've been able to actually become a full-blown narcissist, is because they have these appealing character traits that people are drawn to. So they're able to kind of see what works and what doesn't, and use what works, and maybe discard or put to the side what doesn't work for them, so that they can capture people's attention and play on their emotions. So your narc will undoubtedly be charismatic and funny with your family, your friends, your coworkers, if there's an opportunity for that. Anywhere you go, anywhere you are, these people will try to massage and really manage those relationships. So eventually they'll be able to undermine you. So uh, they will eventually lie. They'll do whatever they can to drop little nuggets and little seeds of, oh, you're crazy, or but little ones. So that people begin to question you and uh, just your character, but in a way that is so sinister, because it's so like breadcrumbed, or like, that's probably not the best word, like, but slow fed, like a slow drip, so that people don't go, wait, that's probably a fabrication, or wait, I better double check that one to see if it's true. They just, oh, yeah, oh wow, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, or just a little thing that it registers, it gets logged into their brain, and then little by little, more things get logged in, and they think you're something that you're not. Sadly, triangulation is extremely sinister, because they are able to turn people against you through this process, and that's their goal. And you would say, well, why would they want to do that with someone that they're in a relationship with? Well, narcissists generally don't feel worthy of you, whoever they're in a relationship with. They don't actually feel worthy in general, which is part of the problem. So, what they're actually doing is destroying the relationship. Bef- they're destroying the relationship, right? Before you have the chance to reject them. So, they're doing it in advance so they can reject you instead of you being able to reject them. In the process of triangulation, they build a cadre of flying monkeys. So those are people who are willing to do their bidding, or at a minimum willing to speak to other people and gossip to other people, these chatty Cathys, male or female, who are willing to then take what they've heard and know and spread it out amongst your community, amongst your family members, et cetera, et cetera. So now you have people around you both who think less of you and more of them, and because they're charismatic and all of those things, you begin to shrink and feel like you're becoming less of you, because you can feel these people feel some kind of way about you, and they start to act some kind of way towards you that doesn't make any sense for what you've brought to the table. So these people, these flying monkeys, actually really exacerbate the problem, because they also are not totally in tune to what a narcissist looks like. Maybe more people are now, because this is becoming a more well-known uh, problem. However, 20 plus years ago, this was not even something really anyone was talking about, not in the circles that I was in. So I had no idea what to look out for, that this was even happening. I had to do this work myself to figure out who this person was. Um, and really, everyone has to do that. It's on you. No one, very few times will you find that someone can actually come in and be like, yeah, you have a narcissist, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll just be done with this." If you don't figure it out, you're not really likely to be done with it, because they've already trauma bonded themselves to you. That's another thing they work. All of this creates trauma bonds. You're trauma bonded. They push pull from the other video. They lie. And then they love bomb you. I mean, it just is all trauma bonding so that they can keep you and make you feel less and less and less well about yourself, which feeds them and feeds them and feeds them again, knowing ultimately that there will be some point where they're rejected, because there's no way that any person can actually sustain death by a thousand cuts. You cannot sustain it, or it. I mean, you just cannot sustain it. So you're gonna have to do something about it. That's the bottom line. You're gonna have to do something about it, and they know this. They keep going until you do something. That's their plan. So you don't have a choice, really. I mean, everyone has choices, but that's up to you. Another piece to this is that these people think that they are above the law. They think they are above societal mores. They think they're, the standards set in society of how people behave. They're above and beyond any work rules, or um, any community, or any place where there are overarching sort of ways to behave ideas. Um, they really they they don't think that they apply. That only applies to the peasants, right? That only applies to the lesser people, like you and I. They are not subject to any of those things, so they will do things, which I think eventually does catch up with them. Because my narc lost 4 jobs in a field where people generally, that does not happen, and it's actually pretty difficult for that to happen based on some of the structures within the professional field that he is in. So um, I'll say that it doesn't last long. It catches up to these people, but sadly, they don't realize that they are actually going to be held to the requirements of a job, or requirements of the law, and that sort of thing. And it makes them just willing to behave in ways that are not with integrity, behaving in ways that are not valuing other people, or valuing what they have in their lives that are any good. And ultimately, through that, they will uh, devalue everything around them until they're stopped, essentially. Meaning, if that means separating or divorcing, or maybe legally the law catches up with them. They're caught in some kind of lie or something like that, or lose a job. It's insane the way that these people seem to feel like it's okay to operate in the world, and there are a lot of people subject to various narcissists in their lives that are really dealing with a tough time around it. So you'll see my other videos, and I talk a little bit about boundaries and things like that. So during the course of various videos that I'll do, I'll try to refresh some of the ideas around what has helped me along my way, and get back to a little bit as well about how I tried to navigate um, being on my journey. So if you're wondering, like, how do I even do this? Go back to listen to the first video, 1.0, and I know it's a little tough because I was new and scared, which I'm not hopefully anymore. And I said a lot, but if you can get past, I kind of found a mojo a little later in the video. Hopefully you can check that out. And I'll try to refresh on some strategies pretty soon in a video that really dives into just strategies as well. Anyway, I love you. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you soon.